Hey YouTube, what's up? Snowflarky Zemos here today with another deck profile. Today I'm bringing my Trap Monster deck that I've been playing a bit recently. Trap Monsters are a kind of archetype of cards that have been around for a while and just constantly evolve to get lots of cool stuff with them. I've always been fascinated with them, and we've always had somebody in our group that's playing around with them, if not multiple people. So I finally got a hold of the cards I'm looking for myself after playing it on Master Duel, and got some builds and whatnot that I'm pretty happy with. So it's pretty cool. It's a deck based around a series of trap cards that are also monsters, and that gives them their own unique synergies and effects, and just really cool things like that. With that said, let's get into the cards. So, given that this is a trap card based deck, we're going to change things up and start with the trap cards this time. Starting off, I'm playing 3 copies of Statue of Anguish Pattern. Statue of Anguish Pattern has kind of been one of the flagship big trap monster payoffs. Essentially, it's a continuous trap card, as all trap monsters are, and you special summon this card as an effect monster, a rock type earth level 7 with 0 attack and 2500 defense. So all the trap monsters have listed on the card what kind of stats they'll have when they're summoned as monsters. And of course, if summoned this way, this card cannot be targeted by an opponent's card effect while you control another trap card that is a monster, which is pretty cool. But really, the real big payoff of this card is if another trap monster is special summoned from your spell and trap card zone to the monster zone while this card is a monster, you can destroy a card on the field. Now that's pretty cool. That effect is not once per turn, and that effect stacks between multiple anguish patterns, which means if we have 2 anguish patterns on the field and we summon a trap monster, we're going to get to destroy 2 cards. It's very easy to stack anguish patterns, summon lots of trap monsters, and just constantly be summoning trap monsters so that we can destroy a lot of our opponent's cards. And we're going to take full advantage of that. It can be very disruptive, hurt an opponent's play, and just a very nice tool to have in the deck. Next up, I'm playing 3 copies of Angel Statue Azaroon. Uh, Angel Statue Azaroon is pretty cool. It's when it's an effect monster, it is a level 4 light fairy with 1800 attack and 1800 defense, so decent stats. And of course, this card has the effect that when your opponent would special summon a monster while this card is in your monster zone, you can send 1 to the graveyard, 1 continuous trap card in your monster zone that was special summoned from the spell and trap card zone to negate the summon. So when your opponent's trying to go in their extra deck, pull out a monster, you can use Azaroon, Tribute itself, or another trap card monster, say especially one that we may have used with Statue of Anguish pattern to pop a card earlier, to negate a special summon, and that's pretty cool. Now, Angel Statue Azaroon is a soft once per turn, so if you have multiple Azaroons, you can get multiple special summon negates. And of course, Azaroon can even target itself if you don't have any other trap monsters. So that makes this card pretty cool. Um, and when this card in your monster zone is destroyed by battle, you can destroy the monster that destroyed this card, which is pretty cool. In this deck, and the way this deck plays, that doesn't happen very often that you can get destroyed by battle, but just a nice little extra effect to have. Next, I'm playing 3 of Swamp Mirror. Swamp Mirror is an interesting card that not a lot of trap card decks might be playing, but my build that I'm working out here can definitely take advantage of Swamp Mirror's effect. So Swamp Mirror summons itself as a normal monster that's a level 4 with 1800 attack and 1000 defense. But the key with Swamp Mirror is when you play Swamp Mirror, you get to declare what attribute and what type it is. And that can be very handy because based on which attribute and type you pick, you can give yourself access to some interesting extra deck tools. The big ones I'm going to be using Swamp Mirror for is I'm either going to be making it a dinosaur so that I can go into the Volzor XZs, the very powerful XZs monsters to have, or I'm going to declare it to be a plant, which I can use with some plant type synergies, namely Cactus Bouncer, to lock both players out of special summoning. Both are very handy, and of course, multiple swamp mirrors being level 4 dinosaurs, multiple of them can make any Volzor, and that is awesome. Next, I'm playing 3 copies of Quantum Cat, which is the same thing as Swamp Mirror, except instead of it having 1800 attack, it has 0 attack and 2200 defense, but again, a level 4 monster that we get to declare its attribute and type. So, definitely not as useful as Swamp Mirror, because Swamp Mirror at least has some offensive presence, but if we want to go all in on that strategy, we are going all in on that strategy. Next, I'm playing 3 copies of Tiki Curse. Tiki Curse, when you special summon it from the Spell and Trap card zone, is a level 4 monster with 1800 attack, rock type, which is pretty cool. And of course, while this card, if another trap card, while there is another monster that is a trap card, and it battles an opponent's monster while this card's on the field, you can destroy the opponent's monster after damage calculation. So if you're not big enough to destroy something by battle, you can still ram it, take a little damage, and use Tiki Curse's effect so that that monster is destroyed. Pretty good option to have because, we want to be able to get over those big wall type cards. Next, I'm playing 2 copies of Abyss Stingray. Abyss Stingray is a pretty interesting card. It's a 1900 attack, 5-star monster, which is pretty handy. Light too. So if we were playing 3 of these, of course, it gives you access to something like Constellar Pallades. Just a different, the sheer amount of like different extra deck tools you can access, especially ones that are less played, is definitely one thing that is appealing about this deck to me. But so it's a 5-star monster with 1900 attack and pretty cool. And of course, if this card is summoned, by the activating the trap card and summoning it by the trap card's effect, this card cannot be destroyed by battle, which is pretty cool. That means we can just sit on Abyss Stingray, and if they can't, if they have to remove it by battle, we can wall off a battle phase and buy time to get cards we need. And for the last trap monster that I'm playing in the deck, we are playing 1 Cyber Shadow Gardener. Cyber Shadow Gardener is a pretty interesting card because activate only during your opponent's main phase. After activation, you special summon this card and it's treated as an effect monster. A machine type, level 4, question mark attack, question mark defense. If this card is attacked, you can target the attacking monster, and the attack and defense of this card becomes equal to the attack and defense of the attacking monster. So that means, they pretty much have to ram it if it's in attack mode and get destroyed. Or, you can wall off an opponent that way. But really the reason we're playing Cyber Shadow Gardener is for this last effect, that at the end phase of the turn, this card is summoned, you set it back in the spell and trap card zone again. This is nice because unlike the other trap monsters that are summoned and done, this means once we have Cyber Shadow Gardener and Statue of Anguish pattern, we have just a guaranteed way to pop a card every turn because we'll pop it, we'll special summon it, Anguish pattern will pop a card, and then Cyber Shadow Gardener will set itself at the end phase. So that's just a nice tool to have. Once we see it, it's pretty cool. Next up, though, we're not done with our trap cards. I am playing 3 copies of Imperial Custom. This card works really well with trap monsters because Imperial Custom says face-up continuous trap cards cannot be destroyed except Imperial Custom. You can only control 1 Imperial Custom. So, that's pretty interesting because normally that would just protect continuous trap cards. But in this case, what it's really doing is protecting our monsters too. Because even though we summon these cards as monsters, they still also count as traps. So if I have Swamp Mirror into attack, and you're going to attack over it and destroy Swamp Mirror, if Imperial Custom is face up, I'll take the damage, but Swamp Mirror is not destroyed. And that keeps your monsters safe and protected, which is pretty cool. So definitely a good card. We want to see it, so we play 3. Next, I'm playing 2 copies of Fake Trap. Fake Trap is an interesting card. When your opponent uses a magic, trapped, or effect monster to destroy your trap card or cards, you can destroy this card instead. And this card, while it's a one-time use, does work similarly to Imperial Custom, where if our trap monster is getting attacked and destroyed because by battle or because of an effect that destroys the monster effect, well, since it's still a trap card, we can use Fake Trap. It's also nice against, Harpy's Feather Duster, things like that, etc. And last for our trap cards, I'm playing 3 copies of Summon Limit. Summon Limit is just a nice additional win con that we can play in this deck. It's a continuous trap, and what's nice about that is that means this card is also being protected by Imperial Custom and Fake Trap. And Summon Limit, of course, says neither player can summon more than 2 times per turn. So what's pretty nice about that is, you know, a lot of decks need to summon a lot to go off, and if we limit it to only 2 per turn, we're certainly punished less, especially because when we play this card, we can just chain the rest of our trap monsters to get them all out on the field if we're worried that we're going to be hindered too much in our ability to summon. But mostly what this means is once we have Anguish Pattern on the field and we're popping cards, we can easily, you know, just have Summon Limit up. Our opponent summons a monster. We flip a trap monster. We destroy their monster. You know, they have one more monster to summon and they can play that and we can destroy it too. And, you know, so just the ability to destroy monsters, kind of deny them access to their extra deck, deny them the ability to move, really gives us a win con that we can take advantage of because especially if we've already, you know, special summoned all our trap monsters that are on it before we flip summon limit, then we do have quite an offensive presence that we can close out a game with. And that is it for the trap cards. Next, we are going to go look at our monster cards. I am playing 2 copies of the Calculator. Calculator is a little greedy for this deck at this point, but it's still one of my favorite cards in Trap Monsters and has one of my favorite interactions, so I'm deciding to play it. It's a 2-star monster that just says this card's attack is equal to the combined levels of all monsters you control times 300. So what's pretty interesting is in Trap Monsters, we're going to have our board filled with monsters quite a bit, and especially given that our necessary Anguish Pattern is a 7-star, Anguish Pattern and Calculator alone make this a 2,700 attack monster, and it only gets larger from there. So it's pretty easy to have Calculator have more than 3,000 attack, and you know, just that additional attack gets over a big monster or just gets us in a lot of damage to close out a game before our opponent can draw the outs to our board that's locking them. So, you know, Calculator, just a nice tool to have. Still enjoy it. Next, I'm playing 2 copies of Soul Eating Oviraptor. Kind of a strange choice, but Soul Eating Oviraptor is a 4-star dinosaur monster, which is nice to have for our Dinosaur XZs pool. And I like it because simply, if this card is normal or special summon, you can take a dinosaur type monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. So we're of course going to add another Soul Eating Oviraptor to our hand next turn so that we have it. And that means, you know, between summoning Soul Eating Oviraptor and adding another one to our hand, it means if we have Swamp Mirror or Quantum Cat, and, you know, we can definitely probably reliably have a dinosaur material on the next turn. 1800 attack is pretty solid too. And, you know, just good enough to run. I would consider maxing out on Oviraptor and maybe doing a Jirac or just doing a full Dino Rabbit package to add to this deck. But I'm not because I'm also playing 3 copies of Cactus Bouncer. Cactus Bouncer is a pretty interesting card. Definitely a card I've always kind of been looking for decks to use and abuse it in. So Cactus Bouncer here is a 4-star 1800 plant monster that cannot be special summoned, but while another plant monster is on the field, neither player can special summon monsters. So what's pretty interesting is our Quantum Cats and Swamp Mirrors can easily become plants. So if we, you know, flip all our trap monsters, summon them on board before we put our Swamp Mirror or Quantum Cat on board, Cactus Bouncer can just lock down special summoning after that trap monster hits the field. And, you know, so many decks auto lose to not being able to special summon that could close out a game right there. So just a little good strategy to disrupt our opponent, make it harder for them to play, and that's how you win Yu-Gi-Oh! So Cactus Bouncer, pretty cool, works well with those trap monsters. And that is it for the monsters. And last, going into our spells, I'm playing 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. Now, of course, while we are making some extra deck plays in this deck, it's not the craziest. You know, the big thing is just going into the Evolzors, which is pretty sick. You know, if we max out on copies of Lagia and Dolka, we'll definitely have some left over, which is pretty nice. And, just the ability to get extra cards just can't be denied, especially when we want to replenish our hand, dig for summon limit, dig for anguish, any of those cards. The extra cards are just nice. We banish 3 to 6 of our extra deck cards face down, draw 1 for every 3 that we did. So if we banish 6, we're drawing 2, and we like drawing 2. Next, I'm playing 3 Pot of Duality. So because of the way trap monsters work, where you have to set them and then you activate them on a later turn to special summon them, there are lots of our turns where we will find ourselves not in a position to special summon. Especially if we just want to normal summon Cactus Bouncer, set our traps, Pot of Duality into whatever we're looking for to keep our cards protected is pretty good. We just look at the top 3 cards of our deck, add 1 to our hand, and shuffle the rest back into the deck. In exchange, we can't special summon, so yep, we can play around that, and I'll use that to dig a key card out. And of course, the last card, 1 Card of Demise. Again, we have a very low monster count in this deck, lots of cards we're going to set, so if we've already made some plays and we top deck Card of Demise, it's a great way to refill our hand if we don't want to special summon that turn. And of course get lots of new trap cards to set, and so that's nice. Card of Demise says that we draw until we have 3 cards in our hand, and of course your opponent takes no damage for the rest of this turn. And of course during the end phase of the turn, you have to send every card in your hand to the graveyard, which is not a big deal if it's trap cards, and we're going to set them instead. And we cannot special summon during the turn we use this card. So it works on the same turn as Duality, and we can easily just set our trap monsters and wait to summon them on another turn. So just a good card to reload. And that is it for the main deck. Going into my extra deck, I've mostly settled on a rank 4 Xyz package since there's so many level 4s in this deck. And of course, given that I'm playing the Swamp Mirror and Quantum Cat for the Dinosaur Synergy, I am of course playing 3 copies of Evolzor Lagia. Requires 2 level 4 dinosaur type monsters. And of course during either player's turn, when a monster would be normal or special summon or a spell or trap card activated, we attach 2 materials to negate and destroy the card. So Solemn Judgment on a 2400 attack body. Pretty nice to have, especially once we're already set up. And we play 3 because we want to try to keep 1 after we play Extravagance once or twice. In addition, I am playing 3 copies of Evolzor Dolka. Well, I'm waiting on my 3rd one to arrive. But 3 copies of Evolzor Dolka, 2 level 4 dinosaur type monsters. During either player's turn, when a monster effect is activated, you can detach an Xyz material from this card, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. So that's nice because it's during either player's turn quick effect, and it's not once per turn, so we're going to get 2 monster effect negations off of Dolka. Makes Dolka very powerful, especially since so many decks are just all monster effects, and just a cool card to have. We can make it with the Swamp Mirrors and the Quantum Cats and the Oviraptor, so we're definitely going into it. Next up, I am playing 2 copies of Abyss Dweller. Abyss Dweller is nice, 2 level 4 monsters, and of course while this card has Xyz material attached to it, that was a water monster. It gains 500 attack, which is something we can do in this deck if we just declare that our Swamp Mirror and Quantum Cat are water monsters. That's pretty cool. But mostly, even without it, it's still just good because during either player's turn, we can attach an Xyz material from this card. Any card effects that activate in your opponent's graveyard cannot be activated this turn, so pretty cool. Next, we're playing 2 copies of Tornado Dragon. It requires 2 level 4 monsters, and of course, once per turn, during either player's turn, detach a material to target a spell and trap card on the field and destroy it. So, nice option to have for, if we need back row removal. Cool to have. Next, I'm playing 2 Castel, the Sky Blaster Musketeer. Pretty interesting. 2 level 4 monsters. You can detach an Xyz material from this card to target a face-up card and on the target a face-up monster on the field and change it to face-down defense position. So like a Book of Moon effect, which doesn't come in handy too much. We're mostly using the second effect, which attaches both materials to target a face-up card on the field and shuffle it into the deck. So just a nice way to get rid of an annoying face-up card. If we need it, we will do so. And next, a couple of one-ofs. Baguska, the Terribly Tired Tapir, requires 2 level 4 monsters, and of course, if we special summon it in defense, it becomes a pseudo 2-turn skill drain, where all monsters summoned are placed in defense and cannot activate their effects. So, skill drains pretty much everything except links. And of course, during the standby phase of each of our turn, we got to detach a material Uh, and of course, if we can't do that, he's going to be destroyed. But that's fine. Can just buy us some time. When he's in attack position, he can't be destroyed by card effects while he has material. So an option for both here, but can definitely buy us some turns. If I had more copies of Baguska, I'd be bumping it up because I don't like to see it banished off of Extravagance. But I will. Next, one Heartland Draco, number 82. This is a card I like sometimes to finish things off, just because 2 level 4s, 2000 attack. I can detach a material and this card can attack directly. There's some times where games can be at a standstill. I've done some damage, but maybe they're walling me off now, and just an extra 2,000 points can do it. So for that, I've kept Heartland Draco with a spot in the deck, which is pretty cool. And of course, last, I got my copy of Divine Arsenal AA Zeus. It's pretty nice since I'm playing all XZs. I can attack with a card, and I can attack with an XZs monster, and then I can make that XZs monster Zeus. And of course, Zeus just has the great quick effect that I can detach 2 materials from this card to send all other cards on the field to the graveyard. And I can do that during either player's turn, which is pretty sweet, and just makes it a good tool to have. We all know Zeus is a great card. And that is it for my extra deck. So that is it for the Trap Monster deck profile. Pretty cool. There's definitely tons of variants for this deck that I can play and will be considering playing. So many different things to do. You can play Metal Reflect Slime and get Egyptian God Slimes going. Things like that are just so cool to have. Very glad to finally have this deck all put together and be able to play with it and all the different variations that I can do with it. So you may be seeing more of that on the channel. But thanks for checking it out. Love to know what you're doing with trap monsters or any trap card based decks. Always a big fan. We can talk about it in the comments below. I appreciate you checking out the video, and I'll catch you in the next one.